The thing socialists have never learned is that we aren't an anthill. People do not produce if they don't receive rewards for it in the form of salaries or getting ahead or building wealth or whatever that may be. But we aren't that way. We don't just do it without some kind of incentive. And what this does, again, it's always sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Take a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And literally, sustainable development is about redistribution of the wealth. That's the core of it.
Well, and like I say, that's the textbook Marxism. Now, what about resistance to Agenda 21? What efforts are being made to oppose this beyond just you and me?
Well, here's the exciting part. First of all, you said, where is it? It's everywhere. It is in every single community, every single county, every single state of this country. You've got local elected officials who are helping to put this in place, whether they understand it or not. Comprehensive development plans is probably the thing you've heard most about in your community. That is sustainable development. And there is an organization called the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI, which helped write Agenda 21 back in 1992. Their mission now is to go into communities around the world and they're paid dues from local tax dollars by city councils and county commissions to help implement this. And, that's where it's coming from. And they're in 600-plus American cities right now. And the interesting thing is, again, for 15 years I've been fighting this battle, and with a very few other people trying to sound the alarms on this, with people watching their eyes glaze over as they didn't understand what we were talking about. All of a sudden, in the last year to year and a half, it has exploded. People are getting it. I have never been busier. I've never had more phone calls. I've never had more emails. I've never spoken more around the country, taking this message around. And people are starting to get it. They're starting to resist city council after city council. And finally, we've found the man we've been looking for 15 years. There is a county commissioner in Carroll County, Maryland, who took this information. He got it from us, and he understood it. He helped get elect 4 other county commissioners on his county board. There are now 5 of them. They understand it completely. The first thing they did was shut down the Sustainable Development Office in their county. The second thing they did was kick ICLEI out of the town. Now they're taking on the EPA and its attempts for water control and so forth. This is the battle we've been looking for. We're at the very beginning of it. We certainly have a huge way to go, but the battle has been engaged. I can name 10 communities here in Virginia that are taking it on. I've gotten calls from Montana, from Maine, from Florida, from California, on and on and on across the country, Michigan, Ohio, people taking up this battle. I've never been more excited than we are right now.
That is really, just listening to you discuss it is exciting. I'm curious, though. You said you've been fighting this battle for 15 years. What were you doing the first 3 years after Agenda 21?
Well, okay, I'm rounding off.
It's closer to 20 years, my friend. That's point.
True. That's true.
Really, we've been doing this stuff for a long while. Yeah. You recently initiated a request to investigate the Southern Poverty Law Center. I know this organization to be a shill for the U.S. government. I've found them to lack credibility. They are always the organization quoted by the government to support its justifications for oppression against the American people. According to Morris Dees, I think he was the founder of the organization, I'm a real bad guy and I'm a hate group. Tell us about this investigation. What is it you hope to accomplish?
Well, we had a briefing on Capitol Hill last Thursday to the Tea Party coalition or caucus, the new elected representatives, House representatives that are considered Tea Party people, and among other issues, we took this one to them. And what we're concerned about, the Southern Poverty Law Center is an organization, and they call us hate groups, and they continually put out reports that how we're putting out hate rhetoric. and that were potential terrorists, and on and on and on. And you know, they have that list they put out every year. Was it 25 people? I think it is, that the top haters of the year, that kind of thing. Very upset because they haven't put me on it yet. But
you'll just have to work harder.
I know. Well, I'm working at it. Maybe this year I'll make it. But you know, they continually do this, and you think, well, okay, so what? Well, the fact of the matter is that they have direct ties to the Department of Homeland Security in particular. I'm sure other agencies as well, but that one's the one that scares me. The Department of Homeland Security over the last 2 years has put out some horrendous reports about right-wing extremism, and they put out one called the domestic extremism lexicon, trying to define who these terrorists would be, and we end up, you know, it's being people who are opposed to Obamacare and the UN and, you know, things like that, and just normal everyday stuff, things that are in public debate, whether you have a difference of opinion or not. If you aren't coming down on their side, you're listed as a terrorist. Well, the Department of Homeland Security is issuing these reports, and so you know, this makes it official. This makes it dangerous. This makes it a point where somebody like you and me may not be able to fly on airplanes. We may have our freedom taken away from us. We may not be able to speak out. You could lose your radio show because you've been deemed a domestic terrorist, and it's Department of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Except I'm a strategist, and I plan countermeasures for just such occasions.
Yeah. But you get the point. And
absolutely.
And, you know, we shouldn't have to worry about that.
And
we're just exercising our right.
For those who are unfamiliar with the Department of Homeland Security, that's the American Gestapo.
Yep. It really is.
So what is it out of this investigation into them that, in other words, you know, what you've said, you've spoken of, are fairly well-known facts. What are you trying to find from the investigation? What are you trying to accomplish?
What we were asking is for a congressional investigation into the ties between Southern Poverty Law Center and the Department of Homeland Security. They're getting grants from them. They have a training center that it's called the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, that's run by the Southern Poverty Law Center. You've got local police forces that send their people to be trained there to get certification from this.
So when Congress comes out and says, okay, they have a connection to DHS, now what?
Well, first of all, we want them to break that connection. We want them to stop, writing checks to them. We want them to stop dealing with them. And I want them to take a look at their tax-exempt status, because this is not education. This is political activism. And in other words, I want to sever those ties and get the Southern Poverty Law Center off my back and out of the Department of Homeland Security. Right.
I'm just curious. It sounds like, you know, you may accomplish some of it through Congress, but Congress is legislative. You want to get them off the tax rolls, you'll have to go to the executive. And if you want to do something legal, you'll have to go to the judicial. Are you going to be doing all of this? Are you going to be suing these people?
It is being discussed. I can't say more than that at this point.
That's fair.
It is being discussed, and there's certainly a route that way. Yeah.
Okay. You've written a new book. Now, tell me I was wrong. Now, in all honesty, I haven't read it. I haven't seen the book yet physically. But that's quite a title. Tell us, how did you come by that title? What does that mean?
The subtitle is 15 Years of Unheralded Wisdom and Warnings in the Battle for the Republic. Bottom line, it is a collection of articles I've written over the last 15 years or so, talking about issues from the whole restructuring of the education system to the United Nations to global warming to, of course, sustainable development we were just talking about earlier, illegal immigration, all of these kinds of issues. People ask why suddenly there's this anger, you've got this Tea Party uprising, and people keep asking, well, where'd they come from? Why? Basically, my point with the book is that these issues that I was writing about then are really in the forefront. You're seeing the implementation of them, and people are understanding how bad they are. And so the book is kind of almost like a history, a documentation of those fights, what was going on, giving people a little more understanding and background of it. But the title comes from the fact that back then I was derided as an extremist and ignored. And now these things are on the front pages of newspapers and so forth, and so I'm very arrogantly saying, well, now tell me I was wrong. This is what we were telling you about back then, and now it's in the forefront. So that's what the book's about.
What has been the initial response to the book?
I've gotten great response. It's just started, so not that many people have read it yet. We just got it in the last couple of weeks to get it out. But everyone who has read it has. So I had one lady who's a Tea Party activist write me an email at 4:30 in the morning saying, I'm cheering and I'm trying not to wake my husband, but I can't sleep because I'm reading this book. So I took that as a pretty good review.
That's a good sign. How can people get a copy of it?
Go to my website, DeWeeseReport.com, DEWEESE report.com, and there's a little thing up in the top right-hand corner that says Tom DeWeese's book, and click on that, and you can order from there. It's available on Amazon. It's in Barnes & Noble, across the gamut. You can get it all those ways.
Now, is that also where people can go to subscribe to the DeWeese Report?
Yes, at DeWeeseReport.com. They can subscribe to it online. It's available online. We also have a printed copy, and you can get all that at DeWeeseReport.com.
Now, what about American Policy Center? That's AmericanPolicy.org, or are they at the same place?
No, that's a separate website, AmericanPolicy.org. Yeah. Okay,
so American Policy Center is AmericanPolicy.org. The DeWeese Report and the book is at www.DeWeeseReport.com. Excellent. Now, what's most important? What's most significant to you? I mean, we've talked about some of the U.S. uprisings, the Agenda 21, Southern Poverty Law, DHS. What's the most prevailing issue or most prevailing issues that you think are most important?
Well, we've focused almost our entire attention on the Agenda 21 Sustainable Development issue because, again, this involves literally every other battle we're fighting. And, obviously there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, that's the root. A lot of people are hacking away at the branches trying to fight back, but they're not going for the root. And we're trying to explain to people how that root operates. You've got your local elected officials in total denial on this across the boards and not understanding it every single time. One of our people goes into a city council and says, you're putting this policy in place and it has UN connections and all that. They've laughed out of the room and they're told, no, this is just a local thing that we're doing. That's an absolute lie. It is not true, and we're showing how that is not true.
If you want to continue this with Tom DeWeese and with the work that they are doing at the American Policy Center, go to www.americanpolicy.org. For the DeWeese Report, for the book, Now Tell Me I Was Wrong, www.DeWeeseReport.com. Tom DeWeese, thanks so much. It would never be enough time, but we'll have you back again next time on the Global Freedom Report. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Brent. Thank you.